Okay, YouTube is telling me I'm live. Let me just adjust this live chat thing. Yeah, I feel like I haven't done a stream for a while. Hey, it's been quite a while. I wonder if I can stop that light flickering there. Haven't done a stream for a while. I don't know. I just check out different things. I'm kind of learning YouTube, and I noticed that I've got a few less people engaging. I hadn't been doing my streams, so I want to kind of pick it up again because it was quite a nice kind of community feel for it for a while. I was really enjoying that actually, and then, as you do, I kind of wandered off and started doing other things. It was a Tuesday evening thing, and now it's kind of a Thursday evening thing. But I wanted to pick it up again and just see if people are interested and want to engage a little bit. I'm still, on my big journey with bioenergetics. Really, it's like I'm really into this 5-position release at the moment. That's intense. When I first started, it was so fucking intense, and that's how it always is when I either find, someone teaches me a new exercise or I discover a new exercise in bio. At first it's usually intense as fuck. I'm like, Jesus, I can't do this shit. And then after a while, I've kind of got it sussed in my head a little bit. I make a video about it or something like that. And I'm still doing it. And now it's nowhere near as intense as it used to be. But when I started doing 5-position release, particularly the Cobra, and then doing the chair or the toe squat in the 4th position, that was so full on. Each time I was like, almost like I'll do anything rather than do this shit, But I still got up and did it. And in a sense, running this channel, just pour out a little bit of green tea, running this channel and, helping people running workshops, it keeps me moving my own energy as well. It's good. I get older and there's always the part that's a bit kind of comfort addicted and doesn't really want to go for it to get in there. And particularly with bioenergetics, because it's opening up all the muscle system where, you've been holding because your brain's been locking in old feelings and stuff. So it's a little bit different from doing the gym or yoga or something like that. There can be an extra little kick of resistance to get in there and move the energy. But I'm very kind of happy with myself that I managed to keep going. I think I've been about 3 years now solid on this bioenergetic journey. And that's pretty much every morning, not every morning, but, I've got to be past 95% of mornings, 98% of mornings, something like that. So I'm happy with that. And this 5-position release is excellent. I'm really enjoying that. I'm still doing some quite long bow and arches in my morning session. And that still, opens up more. Something I've kind of learned in the last month, developing this 5-position release, is that it's good to work the same muscles, but from different angles, So you got the bow and the arch where you're opening up the lower back, areas of the lower back and the backs of the legs in particular in the arch pose, and then it's like I started to add in the dog and the bioenergetic cobra and the toe squat, and they're opening up similar muscles, just not exactly the same, but similar areas of the body, different approaches to some of the same muscles, and it creates an extra level of release. So, hey, Ethan, nice to hear from you, man. I was just checking my messages just 10 minutes ago, and I saw you left me one saying you've been struggling a little bit. I think that was you. Maybe it was a different Ethan. But great. You've been doing bio every day recently. That's the fucking key, man. It's like we have the best days when we do bio in the morning. That's what I'm discovering. And so I just do it every fucking morning. I'm also teaching about 3 mornings a week anyway. So I do it along with the groups. So, that anyway gets me doing it. But it's just awesome stuff, This weekend, I'm running Project Man again down in Brighton, men's group. And I'm really proud of that, just to have a weekend working with bioenergetics and some related therapies with the guys. It's so kind of special to have an all-male space and so kind of life-affirming somewhere to see men, you know, guys from all kinds of fucking backgrounds, whether they're, you know, quite wealthy and had good jobs, or whether they're just from the estate and have been in prison and whatever it is, you know. I mean, like, see them come to it, go for it, and have a natural male bond between them, you know, because, you know, we're the guys that do this shit, you know. We're not the ones that are going there just getting wasted all the fucking time and beating up the wife, or just, you know, we're the guys that are up for really going into it. You know, there's a bravery there, eh? And there's like it's deep stuff. It's deep stuff, and I love to be in the group room with them. You know, leading stuff, but also, you know, part of a team, as I see it, part of the team. Right now, I'm looking at new projects and stuff that I can get into. I'm looking at the possibility to start like a kind of bioenergetic community in Brighton, where people can pay for a week or a month or even longer, you know, not so much money, and come and live in and do a couple of sessions a day as part of a practice. You know, people are always messaging me, how can I teach bio? You know, it's such an amazing practice, but there's so few kind of trainings out there, or even people teaching it is there's really not so many. So, you know, I'm looking what else can be done to step up. And because I've got so much experience with communal living, like I must have lived communally for like, I don't know, 90% of my adult life, you know, it's like, it's just second nature to me to live around a load of people. And just it's kind of exciting, you know. It's like, in today's world, it's hard to run communities because there's so much health and safety, property costs so much money, you know, rent is so high, there's so much kind of council bullshit, whatever you have to kind of conform with. So I'm just kind of looking for models that don't cost a fortune, where I can get in there and create like a communal structure, and people can get some development, you know, where you can come together. And you also have, you know, you make great friendships in that kind of situation. It's very hard, I find, out in the world, being someone that really wants to create change in their own being, you know, that really wants to develop, to go on the journey about it, because it's up as well as it's down as well as up. You know, it's difficult as fuck at times, and it's much easier when you're around like-minded people. So I am looking how we can create a bit more community, coming out of the community I'm in, and just looking what I can do to maybe make a kind of an environment where people can have some freedom and work and stuff, and also commit to like 2 sessions a day to really move their energy upwards. And I'll be putting some more details out about that when I kind of get my head more fully round it, you know, maybe create a website and stuff and see who's interested. But I just love doing bio anyway. You know, I just love it because it's just so good for my body. I think, coming from such a traumatized background, and, you know, wanting to create change ongoingly, and seeing kind of, you know, there has to be that commitment there to keep on going with it, and you never really get to an end point. You know, life gets better, but you never really get to an end point. So there's always like new stuff to explore, and everything seems to change all the time, you know. 20 years ago, there's quite a lot of therapy around, quite deep, intense therapeutic process going on. And now there's very little. You know, it's like, it's got harder for communities that are offering that kind of thing to survive. You know, it's got harder. And so I'm looking, you know, instead of just kind of collapsing and say, oh, it's all fucked up. No, you can't keep on doing it. You know, it's like, hey, let's have a look in this new kind of situation we've got in the UK, and yeah, stuff costs a lot of fucking money, but can we get something together and really make it powerful and dynamic? You know, it's such a hit when you have a load of people living together doing bio and moving in a positive direction. You know, you can achieve fucking untold stuff. You know, fucking untold stuff. It's pretty amazing. So I'm kind of busy with this week, and just thinking, you know, what does it look like? How can I create a communal environment where people can commit to like 2 sessions a day, 5 days a week, and start to really get some positive change in their life? I'm up for it, you know. So yeah, anyway, if you're watching and you've got a question, feel free to stick it out. I have to get used to the kind of low numbers of people checking in, because I run another stream, actually with less subscribers, but I get a lot of engagement straight away because of the subject matter in crypto and stuff. Ethan. Have you got an idea on making friends? For about 2 years, I haven't had any proper friends as I don't do things like going out drinking. I can't seem to find places or situations to make new friends. I mean, for me, in reality, when I started to do group therapy 20 years ago, that's where I made a lot of friendships because I just met people who were similar, basically same as that. I don't know what country you're in or what kind of situation you're in, Ethan, but I mean, you've got to look for like-minded people. I think Meetup is a great app where, there's like stuff going on. And if, you've got to find what am I turned on to and who else is turned on to it. That's how I see it, because it's great to have friendships and, just people that you can resonate with. It's difficult when, for years I just did the normal thing of going down the pub and drinking and hanging out with the guys, and it's okay, there's male bonding in it, but there's a lot of bullshit as well. And everyone's keeping this big mask on, it's like at some point it's like, shit, I want to do something different. I would say, my tips would be, look what you're interested in, what's going on around you, and check out who else is doing that, and yeah, I hope something can happen. Friendships are great, kind of when I was in Yosho University for a long time, and it's very, very focused on friendships. And even these days, sometimes I really want to hang out with people and have my buddies around, and other times I'm happy a bit more to do my own thing. I always know I've got friendships around that I can tune into, and go and do something together, go hang out in a sauna, go for a beer or a meal or something like that, and just chat and relate, let go of the stuff I'm doing in the day. Friendships are fucking great. I hope that helps a bit, man. Anyone else watching, you got a question, feel free to stick it out. I'm just talking a little bit about some ideas I've got going ahead. JW, okay. Hey, or hi, hey, man. Good to see you again. Dev, how would you advise someone who's built their identity around trauma to the point that it's comfort zone and they struggle to see themselves as healthy? Yeah. I mean, I was kind of like that when I started doing therapy a bit, I was just, my whole self-image was just fucked up, basically, that I was a fucked up person and the result of trauma. I mean, somewhere it's like to also focus on the positive, the stuff you have got, the stuff you can do. There can be an element of indulgence sometimes that comes in when people just habitually go into the negative. It's like they just get off on beating themselves up that they didn't do it and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. And sometimes you just have to take a really practical kind of hardline, tough love attitude actually with yourself, and if you've been, creating too much identity around the wounds that you've suffered, you just also got to spend some time appreciating the stuff that you've got. It's like with, because when, I work with trauma professionally all the time, the traumatic events are one thing, but actually what it's really down to is what we did about the trauma. I learned to, for example, withhold as a way of paying back for my mother leaving me when I was a little baby. I learned to withhold from women, and that became, a kind of protest, which is common with very small children when they have trauma. They're not quite ready to scream it out and put it out. They learn to kind of control and withhold. When they're not happy, they don't say anything. They just don't give, very unhealthy social behavior. But I did that for a long time. And you've just, at some point, you've got to learn that, you got to understand that, okay, you had trauma, but also you took a position as a kid, how you dealt with that trauma. And now you're an adult. And you kind of have to just be a bit more positive and move in a healthy direction. I don't know. I'm not sure if we've met. I have a feeling maybe we did, but you got to try and just. So for some people, what works is to understand that a lot of negativity sometimes can be an indulgence. Beating themselves up. They didn't do it again, and blah 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 blah. And at 5 minutes or something, you got to say, right, I'm going to stop this shit, and now I'm just going to do something different. I'm just going to be positive regardless, Let me check the chat. You put a couple more messages in. Any words on holding on to letting go of resentment? Holding resentment over injustices for others is a huge block. Yeah, man, resentment is bullshit, basically, on a deeper level. You know, you got to get in the group room and scream it out, you know, resentment. Whenever I catch myself being resentful, and I can still be a resentful motherfucker at times, you know, I know once I catch it, I've got to change something. I've got to change something. Either I need to talk to someone about, you know, what's going on with me and them, or how I see them, or whatever, or I have to step up myself, you know. Used to get resentful of people who were doing, as I perceived it, better than me, you know. There's no point doing that. You just gotta say, right, I actually want to achieve more, and look how you can fucking do it, you know. So, you know, if you've got the option to do it, you know, you can work with the anger, because underneath resentment, there's a lot of anger. There's a rage there, you know. Come to a workshop if you're in the UK, and, you know, you have a weekend, you can really get into it, you know, and clear it. You know, otherwise, you got to practice seeing what do you need when you're resentful, you know, what do you need and how can you get it in a practical way. Got to take responsibility. Yes, in my case, I didn't stand up for myself in certain situations. That plays in my head like unacted out. Didn't set boundaries at the time. Yeah, but don't, you know, what you did as a kid, you did as a kid. It's in the past. You got to make the change now. You know, you got to make the change now. So, you know, that's just how it, somewhere that's just, you just have to fucking do it sometimes, you know. Yeah, we have fucked up childhoods, you know. I mean, pretty much everyone born has got a fucked up childhood, you know. It's like, or when you hear people saying they had a blissful and perfect childhood, usually they do a few workshops and they start to remember the bad shit or something, you know. And it's like, you know, it's not, but that's like, you know, a good thing to happen per se, or whatever. But, you know, we've all got fucked up childhoods. But the reality is that doesn't give us an excuse to carry on behaving like children. You know, we have to take responsibility. We have to do it. I hope that helps a bit, JW. I hope that helps a bit, man. Luja, hi, man. Good to hear from you. Hey, was feeling really mentally heavy yesterday. Did bow and arch and strained the muscles. Have a stiff neck now. Stiff neck. Okay, interesting. Feeling better, but the bad mood seemed related to negative stuff coming up. Yeah, I mean, there's waves of stuff that we go through. Hey, you know. There's still waves of stuff that we go through, and it's sometimes you've got to move our energy. You know, I was down in Brighton about a month ago, and I was doing something on a Monday morning, and I just suddenly felt really fucking depressed. You know, I was doing some bio, and it just came on like a really heavy negative energy, like depression. There's no fucking point in doing anything. And I could kind of see it. So I just kind of let it be there and just kept breathing and feeling it. And it took about a day. I did, you know, and I did next day some more kind of bioenergetics in the morning, and that cleared it a bit more. But I don't know, I learned that sometimes you just have to fucking consciously feel what's going on. Don't do anything to change it or push it away. Sometimes with a heavy feeling, you know, you have to kind of, what I've learned personally is just to kind of sometimes to just really dissociate, in a sense. You know, it doesn't sound like a good word to use, but disconnect a bit from the story about it. You know, there's usually a story about it, but it's not okay to feel this. It's not okay to feel this. And actually sit down and really go into the feeling, just breathing and really feeling it. I mean, it's different in different situations and for different people, but I've learned that over the years, you know, because I was always one to try and push things away, feelings I didn't want. I wanted to just get them out the fucking way, you know. And I had to learn to sometimes really, really feel just what's happening in my body. Because if you feel it in your body, you know, and you don't allow the story that it's not okay to overwhelm you, you know, change happens. If you feel it in your body, change happens. Your body can then process stuff. I hope that's useful, man. Dum-dum. Yo, what's up, Dev? I have a question. I'm doing arch and bow about 1.5 years. Now I have a couple of deep breaths when I'm in arch and bow. My body starts to shake like some animal. Yeah, it's quite common, man. It's quite common, Neo. You know, because you know, this shaking is usually, it's just a way, it's a deeper form of spontaneous release. I see it all the time. You know, if I'm teaching a group of 10 or 20, bound to get a couple of shakers. When I'm in the bow, I still shake quite a bit. You know, it's like usually just have to breathe into it and go for it. Just have to breathe into it and go for it. You know, simple as that. You know, shaking is good. Shaking is good. Yeah. Let's delete this guy. Wittering on about Donald Trump or something. At first, it was just that beginner vibrations, but now it is crazy, amazing shaking in the whole body. Bow, legs are shaking, and after that, I feel great. Yeah, good, man. Fucking great, man. It's, you know, it's like layers, you know, like they say, used to say it's like an onion, you know, you peel the onion and you get a layer of layer of stuff, and then a layer of kind of depression or fear or not much happening, and then another layer of stuff, you know. Yeah, it's good, man. You're getting towards the energetic core. You're getting towards the energetic core. That's really great to hear. Okay, guys. If anyone's got another question, do feel to just put it out. Just put it out. That's what I'm here for, to answer a few questions. I'm kind of, you know, experimenting with putting, maybe starting to do a few more of these live streams. It was nice before. I used to get 10, 15 people up, and, you know, it's quite a nice vibe. But I kind of dropped it for a while. I don't know if that's had an effect on people or whatever. But yeah, you know, I like to try new stuff and do different things. Like I say earlier, I'm busy with this idea of getting a bioenergetics community together somewhere in a kind of big shared house, and got to check that out. But yeah. What else am I doing? I've got groups coming up. I've got 1 or 2 things a month usually, you know, which keeps me busy, and I have to get out there and promote quite a bit. A little question: why psoas is tight? Well, I'm going to do some stuff on the psoas muscles. I did a video about a week or 2 ago about it was about sexual dysfunction, you know, and a part of that video was about the psoas muscles. But the psoas muscles, you know, that go from the, you got from once from the pelvis going down the leg a bit, and then from further up near the rib cage going down, you know, those muscles get tight because, I mean, part of it is like sexual tension, you know, like if you're brought up in a culture where, you know, it's pretty sexually repressive, which is pretty much every culture in the world, you know, then, you know, part of that can manifest as really holding that area of your body tight, you know, from an early age, to the point where you just think it's natural just to hold that area really tight, you know. So, you know, different reasons why the psoas might be tight psychologically, but the thing to do is you can massage the psoas muscle, or you can get a partner, a friend to massage it, you know, grind their fingers in there and get into the psoas muscle and really move it around. It can be quite intense, so you don't want to overdo it. If you look for psoas release on YouTube, you'll find some other exercises, and I'm going to put some exercises. I'm going to do a video on the psoas. It's on my list of videos to do, and looking at some different techniques you can do to start to release tension from the psoas, you know. And it's certainly, you know, when you see the psoas start to let go and release, you know, people bump up and down all over the bloody place, you know. It's amazing. But, you know, the bottom line is, you know, it's a lot of tension in that area is, yeah, sexual control, basically. You know, somewhere if we're natural beings, we're like a fucking animal, you know, like an animal, you know, and it's got that sexual vibrancy and wildness is natural to it, you know, but we learn in our cultures just to kind of control it all very, very heavily. It can also be that there can be trauma in that area, emotional, sexual, physical trauma, all sorts of reasons. But I think, you know, I mean, I never did a study of it, but I think it's pretty normal for people to have a pretty tight psoas muscle, you know. I went to a big psoas de-armoring class once, and you know, pretty much everyone in the class of 30 people had real tight psoas, myself included, you know. There's a lot of tension held there. Finally, what you need is to just kind of feel it more. When you can actually start to feel your psoas muscle, then you can, you know, just that action of feeling it. First of all, you become aware, fuck, it's tight, you know, and then breathing and feeling it, stuff starts to move and release, you know. Cool. Okay, I hope that's helpful, man. Neo, thanks. This channel is great. Thank you, man. Thank you. Liene. Hi, just a quick question about the bow pose. Does the weight go to the front of the feet like in the arch? I wouldn't say so, really. You know, I wouldn't say so, really. Not really. That's a good question. I'm going to get up and lean. The thing is, I don't always do it quite perfectly, but you don't consciously move the weight towards the front of your feet. Sometimes people's heels, I think the weight can naturally kind of come to the front of your feet a little bit more in that pose. But, you know, you don't really consciously move it there. At least I don't do that when I teach it. Yes, when you're doing the arch pose, and it's kind of tricky, ideally you want to lean forwards just a little bit. So if your heel is still on the floor, I mean, a variation is to take your heel off the floor, but so your heel is still on the floor, but most of the weight is forwards. And that kind of takes you just to the edge of your comfort zone a little bit more, you know, a little bit more on the edge of a comfort zone. Okay, let's check the chat a little bit. What do you think about doing bioenergetics, especially the bow and arch, when sore from workouts, sore back, hamstrings? It really makes it harder, at least. Well, I mean, you're the one that knows your own body, and that you're the one that's feeling your own body. So you've got to see what's too much. But I haven't done much gym work recently. I was a bit in the gym for a while last year, but at the end, I'd often do some bow and arch. I think it's good. It was a good thing at the end of the gym, because it can also, it's great. The gym gets my energy moving, feel the old endorphin rush and the positivity, and yeah, I can take on the world kind of feeling. But with my body, it could lock it up a little bit. So, it was useful for me to do the bow and arch. But of course, if your hamstrings are really pulled or your lower back's really tight, you want to make sure you don't make it worse. The thing with our muscle system is, because we kind of, the brain or us or however you want to call it, are used to kind of dumping all the trauma and shit in the muscles. We don't really feel our muscles properly, particularly the backs of the legs and the lower back. So it's kind of easy when you don't feel a muscle to pull the muscle, and until you get more feeling in there. When you got more feeling in there, then it's hard to pull the muscle because you got constant feedback from the muscle. But before then, you got to take it easy. But I would try the bow and arch. I used to use bow and arch after a workout, and it was great. It kind of loosened my energy up even a little bit more. So you got that looseness, and you got the endorphin hit of doing a good workout. Dum 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 dum. JW, bow arch, cobra, dog after gym is a killer. Gets into shaking real quick because muscles are so fatigued. Well, that's a great point to raise. That this fatigue in the muscles is actually good for it. It's like the mind stops fighting so much when your body's fatigued, and you do some bioenergetics. You get even more release. JW, do you keep the knees straight before going into the bow or slight flex? Usually, I have a slight flex there. But it's not really, one thing. I had an ankle operation when I was a kid. Let me just check how old I go into. Yeah, I want, I'm going to keep a little bit of flex there. So I push my pelvis forwards. I got a little bit of flex. But I think, if it naturally feels like your legs are going totally straight in that, I think it's also okay, because a lot of us have different posture. I had an ankle operation when I was a kid, and my ankle's a little bit different. It affects my posture. Some people have other stuff. Quite often people doing the bow, get towards the upper part of the lower back, around the middle of the back. There's a lot of tension there, and then it's very hard. I think, you just got to, we can do a session sometime if you want, but as long as you got the posture good, your pelvis is forwards, and your arms are right up and back, and you're sticking your chest out. Sometimes people do it kind of closed chest. That's not so good. Sticking your chest out like you're meeting the world. Those are the basic elements of the posture. And people's bodies, their leg position will be a little bit different depending on postural stuff. If the chin juts forward or not during the bow. Well, the way I teach the bow is to have, no, not your chin really jutting forward. You're up like this, but you're looking dead ahead. Some people will teach it, you're looking a bit up. Your head's coming up a little bit. I teach it looking straight ahead. That's what I learned. But you don't need to stick your head out. I think just upright is enough. Mine tends to by default, but I think that's just my computer posture habits. Well, it could be. I don't know. I mean, like if you're up like this, big breaths. Yeah, I think you want your neck vertical ideally. And of course, some people have this condition where their head anyway is coming forwards, and their neck is at a little bit of a slope. So you may not be able to pull it fully back. And the main thing is for me is that you've got those four elements of the posture together. You've got the arms right up, pulling right up and back. Your pelvis is forwards and your chest is out. And then, your gaze is level. As long as you've got those elements and then you breathe really deeply, stuff will start to correct by itself. That's the basic concept with the bow and the arch. You're opening up areas of the muscle system. And as long as you've got the posture right and you're breathing and you're really feeling your body, then stuff will start to correct by itself over time. So, it's good to get the posture correct, and it's great that you ask for questions, but those to me are the basic. As long as you've got those fundamentals of the posture, then you just really breathe into it and build the time up a little bit. Sometimes do the bow arch cobra dog kind of combination. It's usually bow, cobra, then dog arch. And I like to sometimes stick before the final arch, stick a bit of toe crouch, or if you've got a bit of wall near you, stick the chair posture in there to increase it a little bit more. But, that's up to you. Those can also kind of, once you've got yourself used to the bow and arch, you add those extra poses into it and, do it on like a 1.5 or 1 minute, 1.5 or 2 minute ding. That really starts to ramp up the release in the body, can give you a lot of freedom. Guppy, is the bow arch harder generally speaking? I feel a lot more shaking vibration with the bow. Really, it varies, man, from person to person, big time, For me, the arch was always harder, and I could never really, actually, in a sense, I couldn't really do the bow because I had this ankle thing going on. And then someone got me to raise my heels about an inch, like putting my heels on a book, and then I could do it. And now I can do it without raising my heels. But, it really varies from person to person. I would say the arch is a little bit harder for most people, but a lot of people really find the bow difficult as well, So I don't think it's maybe 60-40. The arch is harder, I would say, just because I'm leading this stuff all the time. So I see for people's, how they're looking, how good they're doing with it. What's really interesting about the bow position, when you're up like this, is you can make more sound if you want. You can laugh. You can stick your tongue out and kind of and stuff like this. You can do extra little bits of release. Depends on where they hold tension and stuff. Yeah, and just on kind of postural elements, which goes back to tension, goes back to trauma, goes back maybe to some kind of genetic stuff sometimes. But the two postures are great. They're very powerful postures. I mean, if kind of science or culture or healthcare ever, I just think, if people got doing the bow and arch quite early on before they got, the doctors and the nurses and the hospital system will be down, be down 80%, 80%. I hardly ever go to the doctor, but sometimes I go just to check something out and I'm in the waiting room and it's like, Jesus, these people are just so ill, most of them, they just look so ill, and so much of it is emotional. So much of it is down to trauma. It's like, I think any kind of, aware being that suddenly descended on the earth would just be like, what the fuck is going on here? What the fuck is going on here? It's just madness, and we've got all these drugs and you've got most of the doctors, or you go to a hospital, you see most of the doctors and the people working in the hospital look just as even more unhealthy than the fucking patients, It's like, it's not working, is it? If it's working, what you learned. And I'm not putting people down, but I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy what's going on out there, when in healthcare and all of this stuff. It's just crazy. Okay, guys. Anyone else got a question? It's kind of a quiet night tonight. If anyone else has got a question, then do put it out. I'll do a few more minutes. Little question that's sitting there on your mind. I got some nice workshops coming up, and I'm doing a little bit of free stuff in Brighton. Get down there on Tuesday mornings early and lead a little class, and Friday evening and go for a drink in the pub afterwards. It's kind of good fun after a bit of evening bioenergetics. So if you got a last question, do stick it out. Keep tuning in. I get a lot of comments, and I see my channel continues to build slowly. That's cool. And I get clients and people starting to get interested. I love doing this work. I need to make a little bit of money, but I love doing the work, basically. I love doing the work and seeing the change in people, seeing the change. I'm going to get this community thing together, hopefully, and then see what we can do with that, get people really kind of standing up and being in their power and moving forwards. I like to try new stuff, which other people aren't really doing, so I'm going to give that a go. Is this your job? Yeah, it's my job, man. Therapist, my job. Workshop leader and therapist, my main job. I do a little bit of trading here and there and stuff. Yeah, cool. Stay in touch, JW. Stay in touch. Maybe later in the year, the bioenergetics community is going to come for a while, and we see if I can get it out. I've got to see some guys I know who connected to the council a little bit and stuff like that. See if I can get something together. Cool, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Have a good evening, or whatever time zone you're in, whatever time of day, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye for now. Cheers, guys.